The project module is used when you have a solution that has some kind of problem and you want to document in some way that you're fixing it, or when you have a problem for which you do not have a solution but you still want to um, do something about it, and this is why you create a project. If you remember the problems and solutions issue, the project management is on the side because it applies to the solutions in the same way it applies to your problems. The project module is very simple. As you can see, it's composed of 3 tabs. We have the projects. A project can have one or more task and one or more expense. Expenses, it means financial expenses. When we create a project, as you can see, we have the name, the description, the status of the project, which can be completed, ongoing, the start date, the end date, who is involved, and then as you can see here, we can see to what items are related. So we see that the first project is being used to treat a risk, and the second project is used in some compliance requirement from, in this case, ISO 27001. If I pull a report of the project, you can see in a very quick way that the general attributes of the project. You can see the project relationships. So the project is composed of 2 tasks, and then there's a compliance package which is linked to it, which is ISO. So this been used in ISO somewhere. And here we have the project tasks, where we see the tasks we have, the deadline, the completion rate, and the owner of the task. If I want to see the tasks for this particular project, I just can click here number 2, and I can see my 2 tasks. As you can see, this one here is already expired, or is expiring actually within the next 14 days. And the projects in itself also have statuses. So we have ongoing and expired. And in this case, ongoing expired, all the task inside is assumed to expire. With the projects, you can use notifications to trigger when things are completed or they're about to be due. For example, a task to be about to be completed, or when it's completed, or when a deadline is coming. We can highlight with the statuses what we want to do. We also have these reports I just shown you as well. You can create filters and send them to you as reports as well. So again, the basic configuration of the module. The way you link projects to these other things is not here. So you see, if I edit a project, I can't do any relationship in here. I just set this the default fields of the project. If you want to link a project to a risk, a control, and so on, you do that from their side. So what I mean is, you don't make the associations here, you do them on these different modules. Yeah? So if I go to the project, goes to the risk module, and I want to associate a project to a risk, I need to edit the risk, and under treatment, I can link it to the project. Yes, so the same goes for compliance requirements or controls or whatever it is that you want to associate these projects with.
As we always say, the best way to start using a module is to create a dummy item. The reason we create the dummy item is to help us familiarize with the module, with the fields in the module, and also to do a bit of a test before we customize the module. As you can see, the project module is composed of 3 tabs. So we have the project, which can have 1 or more tasks. The projects can have 1 or more expenses. If I go to the other tabs, I can simply click there and I will get there. Now let's start by creating a project. I'm going to click on Add Item. This is going to be a dummy item. So we have the name of the project, the description, GRC contact, and project owners. Remember, all this is customizable. We can rename these roles. We can add new roles if we want. GRC contact, I'm going to put the GRC group. Just as a test, I'm going to put the IT. We have the start date of the project, the deadline, the status of the project. These are fixed options. You cannot really change them. We have planned, ongoing, and closed. We can say planned. We can have tags if we want. So that basically summarizes the way you create a project. Now I want to go and create a task for this project. I'll go to the task tab. I'm going to add an item. I will choose that I want to link the task to my dummy project. I'll go to general, the order of the task, who owns the task. Again, we always use groups, remember, the deadline of the task, and the completion rate. In this case, is 0. And you can go and create more and more tasks, but remember, you always have to associate those tasks to your projects. And then we have expenses. So I can go to add item. I link it to the project, the amount of the expense, and the date of the expense. Now, if I go to the main project, you see that I have my tasks and my expenses. If I click here, I see now my tasks. And if I click here, I see now my expenses. That will be it. Just to get familiarized, we create one item. Remember, if we want to link this item to any other solution, like a risk, a control, a policy, all those relationships are done in those modules, not here. After we create our dummy item, we can go and customize the module. Remember, customization means that the form that we used to create this project, so this form, we can rename fields, we can add new fields, we can hide certain fields. So let's go and do that on my projects. I'm going to customizations. I don't like using the description. I don't like using tags. So I'm going to hide those two fields. Project owner, GRC contact. I don't need to rename these fields. I don't plan to add any new field. So I can go back to the item. I'm going to the tasks now to see if I can customize something there. Description, I really need a description there, so I'm gonna leave it. The rest stays there. And then we have our expenses. And I'm gonna customize. And we have expense amount, description, expense date. I'm gonna create a new field for the currency. I'm gonna use a dropdown. And let's say we have this. No, I'm gonna make it mandatory. And I'm gonna move these up right next to the expense amount. Good, so that will be all my customizations for this module. I will now set up my default views. I see we have the name, description, status, start, deadline, contact, control. You see we have all the related modules to which the project could be associated. Right, first of all, going to columns. I don't use this module. I'm not going to be using this module. I'm not going to be using this module, so I just take them out. All the rest seems fine to me. I'm not going to be using expenses. So you see now I have a lot less columns. This is highly recommended. I think we are missing actually the project owner here. Yes, I'm going to put this up. I'm going to add the owner. And I'm going to put it right next to the GRC contact. Okay, this looks better. I'm going to save this. I modify the default filter, the default view. So I need to create my own view. I'm gonna call it Esteban, all items. I don't need to change this. And that's it. Now I'm gonna make the same adjustments on the tasks. Let me see the columns. Task owner, completion date, deadline, task order. I don't care about the order, description. Gonna put it at the top. Project, gonna put it at the top. And then the other things, I'm just gonna remove them. So I have it nice and simple. And I'm gonna save this view. And this is gonna be called Esteban all items. Good, I'm not gonna be using the expenses module, so I have my own views now. But you see now when I load the modules, I'm still looking at the all item by default. If I go to tasks again, I'm still seeing look all items. So I'm gonna change to my view, and I'm gonna say that this view is my default for me. And I'm gonna do the same with the tasks. My view is the one I want to see every time I come here. That's it. Now I default my default view for the project module. Now I want to do the same thing for all users. So when a new user comes, I don't want them to see the all item view by default. I want them to see a custom view, which by the way will be the same as mine. So I'm gonna simply clone, duplicate this one. I'm gonna call it everyone. Yes, view only access all users. I need to make sure that everyone can see this view. I'm gonna save this. And then everyone, all items, that will be the default for all users. Not for me, but for everyone else. And I will do the same in the tasks. I'm gonna duplicate this view. This is gonna be called everyone. Everyone should see this. I'm gonna save it. And then this will be the default view for all users. Perfect. And that will do all the customizations I need to get started.
When using the project management module, you'll sooner or later want to get some kind of reports. The basic type of reports you can send out of Rumba will basically help you to know when projects are expired, or when projects are about to expire, when tasks are expired, or they are about to expire. These are basically emails sent to you every day, every week, every month, whatever you want, and they will provide you the list of things that might have these issues. This is what we call report notifications. What they need is a view. So it all starts with a view, which basically is a filter. So for example, this one, projects with expired tasks. You select the view, and once you select the view, you can send a report notification. So we can go to notifications, we create a new, you will see that by default there are some notifications always created, they're all disabled. We will now create a new one called report notification. We can send a filter or a report. Now we are sending a filter. This will be projects with expired tasks. We select the filter we want to send out. The format of the email. This means that every night at midnight, Eramba will run this filter and it will send that to you by email. The periodicity will be every day. So 0 equals every day. We want to get the email every day. We do that in the beginning just so you can test the notification. Then you can go and change how frequent you want these emails to go. Skip empty results. When the filter runs at night, if there's no results, you will not get an email if you enable this. But we want to get an email no matter what because we are testing the notifications. On the recipient side, send emails to you just for the beginning. And here we can customize the body of the email, the subject and the body of the email. Okay, so that is a basic filter notification. I can go on and say we are now in the projects. I could say, well, send me all the projects where the task deadline is in 2 weeks. By the way, I could do this, or I could do it here as well, right? If I'm on the task module, there will be here a filter with pending task or expired task or task expiring the next week. It's the same. I can do it here or here. I will now do it here just so you see the difference. I go to notifications. Again, we have multiple templates. I'll go to report and filter tasks expiring in the next couple of weeks. Yep. 0 recipients. We always use groups. And there we go. So now we got emails with the tasks when they're expired and when they are about to expire. What if we want to send an email with the projects when they're about to expire? Again, we just need to find a project, a filter, expire projects, for example. So let's go and create that one. Notifications, new notification, report notification. Yes. And the same goes on here. good. So this is how it works. You create a filter, a view, with the filters that you want, with the stuff that you want to send out, and then you combine that with a notification report type. The second type of notification that you will most likely want to send is an email to the direct, let's say, project owner or task owner 1 day, 10 days before the deadline of the task. Now, to do that, what you need is to create a warning notification. We will have to create one warning notification for the projects, because here we have the project deadline, and then we will have to create one deadline notification on the tasks, because that's where the task deadline is. Project first, we go to notification. You will see that we have these notifications already created here by default. I'm going to create one from scratch, so you see how it's done. I go to warning, project deadline 1 day before. We want to send an email, no webhooks. The recipient side, we want to send an email to the project owner and the GRC owner. Remember, we don't use the user here, because no matter, if I will only use this setting here, no matter who owns the project, the email will always go to the GRC group. So we want the email to go to whoever is related to the project, and this is why we need to use roles. Now on the email body, we have this is a testing notification. We have here macros on the email, and this will help us make the email a bit more interesting. This URL here is the URL that they need to use to provide feedback. So provide feedback to the following URL. I'm just making quick notes in here. This URL comes from the macros. Yes, this is item URL. When they click here, they will have to put the username and password, and that will take them to the project where they can provide feedback in the form of comments and attachments. Okay. If you don't want people to log into Rambat to provide it with feedback, and all you want to do is just to notify them about the deadlines, what you can do is just remove this thing here and adjust the email in any way you want. So I'm going to save this thing here, and that's created. So the same on the tasks, notifications, warning notification, 1 day before. The recipient will be the task owner and the GRC contact, and same goes here. And we have here the item URL, so the same applies. Now, when they log into Ramban, they provide it with feedback, they will put comments and attachments, and you want to get a notification when those comments and attachments are actually applied. So what you need to do is create a comment and attachment notification, and that is what allows you to see when someone puts a comment and attachment. You will get an email notification that you can reply. So we go to recipients, same people. Here we have the email with the body and the macros all done. And we will do the same thing on the projects. So I'm going to create a notification, comments and attachment notification. New comment or attachment, recipients, both of them, and the same email. Perfect. Now, if we want to test this, we need a dummy project and a dummy task that will expire in a couple of days, so we see when that triggers. So I'm gonna create a gonna put IT deadline 2 days from now. Today is 9, so in 2 days is 11. Tomorrow will be 10. 10 is 1 day before 11, so that will trigger the notification. Make sure the project is ongoing, and that should do it. Now let's go and create a task as well. We assign the task to the project we just created. this will be IT 11.0, save. Perfect. So now we have all we need to test this notification. Tomorrow we will get the email and we can test what happens when the IT group logs in and tries to provide the feedback. Now, to make sure this works, you need to go to settings, to users, and make sure that someone is member of the IT group. So dummy, our dummy testing account, make sure that it's member of the IT group, but that's perfect. Now when dummy will try to log into Ranma and access the project module, you see it won't work because dummy doesn't have access to the project. Dummy has access to the policy module, to the control module, but not to the project module. So we need to adjust these permissions and we will give access to the project module so they can see projects and tasks. That's it. They cannot edit, delete, or add anything. It just can see things, and that's all we need for now. Perfect. All done.
A day after setting up the notification, your testing notification, you will receive an email a little bit like this. As you can see, the macros replace the subject. You have the name of the project, the deadline. You can adjust the email to say whatever you want. Remember, we always recommend that the first notifications you send out, they do not include the URL, or if it includes the URL, you kind of tell people, listen, let's do this together the first time so you get familiarized with the software. The idea will be that they click on this email, on this link, sorry, they will have to log in with their username and password. Because we're using dummy, they will have to provide the credentials of dummy, and what they will see is the project. What you need to tell them is that they need to click here on the comments and attachments and provide you with any feedback you need. So for example, this. Now what you're trying to do is to try to get everything written in this trail so you know who said what and when, and then after they write this comment, another notification will trigger, the comments and attachment notification will trigger, that will go to you, and then you click on that email and you give them the feedback. And in that way you go back and forward until you complete the update to this project. After that, you might change the status of the project, you might change the deadline, the budgets, the tasks, I don't know, you update the project in any way you want. The idea is that everything you do is documented on these comments and attachments and is visible to anyone.